Welcome to Happy Medium, the middle ground where the arts and mental health meet. I'm your host, Malaika Hollis. This isn't just a podcast interview. It's a front row seat to the creative process. You won't just hear about the art, you'll see it. In each episode, we meet local artists from the Tampa Bay community and discuss how they found their art and the powerful connection between creativity and the mind. Join me as we uncover the stories behind the artists in our own backyard on Happy Medium. Lady Natasha Fines is the founder and CEO of Lady Fines Adaptive Fashion. She has always felt full of creativity and had a true passion for expressing yourself through clothing. She found her way to adaptive fashion from observing the lack of clothing for those with disabilities. From there, Lady Fines Adaptive Fashion was born. In this episode, we learn all things about her inclusive, bright, and trailblazing fashion line.
So I think where my love for fashion began was Christmas. When I was like maybe 5 years old, my parents gifted me a trunk full of dresses, like princess dresses.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I love Disney princesses too. So I'm pretty sure that's where that began. And then rom-coms, I love rom-coms. So from then on, I'm now 32, I've always just been drawn to fashion. I get very excited. I think I cried when I went to the Met for the first time and I saw some dresses. Yeah.
What circumstances led you to coming up with your idea or your start with this brand?
A couple of circumstances. I think it's a 50-50. So the first one, which I think is the most important and the one that really drives me, it's my aunt.
Natasha's beloved aunt recently passed away from cancer. She inspired her and is one of the most important factors driving her to create this brand.
So she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and she was also a fashionista. And so I noticed that within her journey with cancer and her diagnosis, she stopped dressing the same, even stopped being able to put certain clothes on the way she used to. Because little by little, I noticed that she wasn't able to like button up her clothes or even bend down. So that kind of was a light bulb in my head, like, is there certain clothes for someone like her when she goes to her chemo treatments that are adapted to those moments, right? Where she doesn't have to sacrifice who she is while she's in those moments. And then also, I worked in the fashion industry as a buyer, and part of my job and task is doing market research and coming up with projects. And so I started to put projects together for my team when I noticed that there was a huge lack of inclusivity for girls that have chronic illnesses or girls that have disabilities. And so I went into like an Alice in Wonderland, like a hole, and I just realized, okay, there needs to be adaptive clothing, there needs to be inclusivity, I want to help my aunt, and so all of that came together.
Can we talk about some of the unique adaptive features that you have going on?
So there's a lot that goes into adaptive clothing. The most important are the features. So for someone that, let's say, has limited dexterity, where they can't button up their shirt, something as simple as a button, it's important for them to also feel independent. See if I could find. So this was the one that was inspired by my aunt. Easier access to the chemo ports here, and also IV access as well on the forearms. And then rebel with a cause, because we are all rebels with causes. And then another one, which is a favorite, this is our top seller, it's our cargo pants, and they're seated friendly for sure, especially with the side zippers going from the top to the bottom. And also something important is the wide openings, and the material is also rough. So again, someone that has medical devices, the wheelchair or the prosthetics or braces, it's not going to get ruined as easily. So really great quality fabrics is super important for us.
Why do you believe it's so important to have representation with models, not just in your line, but across fashion?
It's incredibly important for little girls or little boys to see themselves in media, especially with how much consumption we all take in with social media.
Yeah.
And so myself, you know, just being a 32-year-old woman, I look through social media all the time and I'm always comparing myself. And I'm like, I don't freaking look like Bella Hadid, right?
Yeah.
Love her, but,
Stunning, but
you know,
not her.
Not it.
Yeah.
So I think it's so cool and it's so important. I hope one day if I get to have a child that when they're looking things up, they're like, oh my God, that's me. And I can do that.
Yeah.
They can feel empowered that if someone that looks like them can be in that position, they can do that as well. But I feel like little by little we're starting to see the representation in media, but we should do better.
In the fashion world and throughout the building of her first collection, Natasha has felt the barriers of being a woman of color and a second-generation American, something we have in common. She elaborates on how she pushes through those barriers.
Being I'm fully Puerto Rican. I was born and raised in Tampa, but my entire family is Puerto Rican.
Right.
And I definitely think that, especially in the fashion industry for so long, we see primarily a certain kind of type. Mm-hmm. And being on the business side as a buyer, it was even going through school. As a little Puerto Rican girl, I thought that I needed to be in LA, be in New York to really make it. And so one of the reasons I was living in Chicago, working for a fashion brand there. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons I actually came back to launch the brand from here is because I wanted to make sure that little girls like myself that are Puerto Rican, girls that are of color, things like that, they know like you can be somewhere in a city like Tampa and you can make it in the fashion industry. Right. And I think there needs to be more representation of girls like us.
Yeah.
That we're
figuring out where you're from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your big dreams for Lady Fines adaptive fashion?
That is a big one.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. And I definitely do have a lot of dreams.
Yeah.
I would say to kind of keep it like high level, like I've mentioned, a store would be my absolute dream, is to have that really cool store where girls can come in and it's universally friendly. So all girls feel included and represented. I don't know if you remember Limited 2.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I do.
So
I remember going to the sales rack because I couldn't get anything.
You can't, right? Because it was super expensive. That's another thing, is affordable. The clothes being affordable, being from someone that I didn't have money growing up. Yeah. And I was made fun of because I couldn't afford Abercrombie and Fitch. Yeah.
And I had my one Hollister tank top that I wore every day.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
And so that was key, which is actually something that's very important to me, is that it's affordable. Up here, I have courage and be kind. I think that's really, really important. I love Cinderella, love princesses. That's where my love for dresses and fashion came from. So that's my words of wisdom, is just always have courage and be kind. I think it's really cool to be a nice person. Like, it's not that hard, right? But the world makes it a lot harder than it needs to be.
And Natasha's love and passion for fashion is taking her to new heights. This year, her adaptive fashion line is having its first show at New York Fashion Week.
So New York Fashion Week is coming up September 8th. In New York at Sony Hall. It's incredible to be surrounded by other very talented designers. I believe we're the only adaptive brand that will be there. So it's going to be pretty badass to see our gorgeous models rocking the runway. So that's coming up this year. I'm working very hard on that. Yeah, I'm still like pinching myself, and so much still needs to be done that hasn't been done. Each collection I hope is better than the last, because not in the medical field, so I'm learning. So that's one thing I try to remind people, because people can be sticklers and
people think you're an expert immediately on everything.
Bro, and I'm like, I'm just trying to be a good person. I just love fashion and I want everyone to love it. So yeah.
Yay.
But thank you so much.
Thank you. This was great.
This was so great.
Yay.
Thank you. Okay. So pretend you were doing a mood board for New York Fashion Week fall. If you had a brand, what would be the vibe?
Thank you for watching this episode. Stay tuned to watch the Lady Fines Adaptive Fashion First Collection Tour and the making of a mood board. If you made it to the end, thanks for listening. And if you didn't, you better hurry up and finish up. Just kidding. Want to know what's next with these artists? Links and ats are in the show notes or on artsaccessflorida.org/happy-media, so you can follow their journey. Thank you to our sponsor, Community Foundation Tampa Bay. building a vibrant, prosperous community through transformative vision, leadership, and philanthropy at cftampabay.org. And the WUSF Foundation, supporting human rights, organizations, and the Tampa, Florida arts community at gobiof-foundation.org. And last but not least, thank you to the Happy Medium team at Arts Access Florida and the Florida Department of State, Division of Arts and Culture for making this podcast possible. Copyright WUSF.